All right, it's a little late Sunday morning. I got a late start, which is okay. But this is done. And somebody wanted to see the front side. That's what the front side looks like. And this is what I hold the knife on here with. So let me show you how this would typically work. Shop dog. Had a brand new haircut. So, normally I pick a hole and I center it over somewhere. That way, it's centered this way, and when I grind the other side, it's centered that way, and everything is equal. And when you have no or close to no flex and no variables, the more variables you can eliminate, the more likely you are to have a nice bevel with good plunge lines. So I made this, 4 or 5 years ago, and I was still fairly new at knife making. I realized that I was never going to be able to stand at a grinder and grind my bevels by hand, freehand. My hands shake too much, and when I stand up for more than a few minutes, everything goes to crap. And it's even worse. My hands shake even worse. So, which is why I spend a lot of my time sitting and working. Because as long as I can sit and work, I do good work. Anyway, so I've learned a lot. And one of the things was to put more bolts here because it just gives me a better chance of keeping everything level and square. And number two, I use this Teflon cutting board. This was adequate. There was nothing terribly wrong with it. And I made this just from junk I had laying around. All this is stuff I had in my junk drawer underneath my workbench. And just stuff I had laying around, right? And so the whole 4 or 5 years I've been using this, I thought to myself what I would make differently and the improvements I would make. And this is a result of those improvements. So that's what we got here. I'm really happy with this, and I think it's probably going to last me a lifetime. I am going to knock the end of this off with my Dremel cutting wheel, just because I only need 4 or 5 threads is all I use. So there's that. And I'm not going to throw this away. I'm going to stick this somewhere where I can always look at it. And that's the thing. All my knives I've ever made up to this day have been made on that. And I'm real happy with my knives. I'm making progress, and every knife I make, I get a little bit better. So here we are. My next project. I just want to show you, this is real. Let me get a straight edge. 1 second. I can't lift that piece of steel up with one hand. Over time, this is what's happened. Can you see? Maybe you can see it if I look this way. There's a definite slope, which makes sense because this is where all the work is done, right here. So not only has it wore away, but this melts up here. It's all rough. And what I did was, this is 2 pieces, right? And I bolted this bottom one to this, and then I glued this top to that. So I'm starting to pull all the bolts out. I'm already starting this. I had something going from here to here to keep it square this way. I mean, it's really, I've had to go to great efforts to square this table. It's not been easy. And all the time and money and effort I have put into this 2x42, it would almost justify spending the money on 2x72. But now, at my age, at my health, I cannot no longer justify the price of a 2x72. So I'm going to continue to make this work until I'm dead. So there we go. Let me finish taking that apart, and I'll show you what I got. There we go. And this is how much flex is there without my bracket that goes from here down to here. Yeah, I've put a lot of effort into turning this into a grinder that, you know, this is not, it's not meant to do what I've had it do. And I've had to make a lot of alterations. The first thing was the table. See this lobe that goes beyond the belt? It had that on here. So in order to change the belt, you had to take this table off every single time. And you know, when you're grinding knives, you start with a 16 and you go to 120 and then 220. So you're taking this table off and on, and then you have to square it every time. It was just insane. So I took my bandsaw and I just cut that lobe off. Now, you pull this little handle towards you, the belt comes off. And you know, I used to have this cover on here, but I don't even know where that cover is. I took that off years ago. So here we go. I don't have a plan. I'm just gonna set this up there. I know it's gonna be too wide this way, but I haven't decided. I'm gonna put my knife grinder, my bevel grinder up here on top of that and just see how much space I actually use, and then cut it, give myself, you know, an extra ½ inch or so. So generally I would start, if the knife is facing this way, I would start about here. You know, my biggest knife is the Bayou Chopper, and I did not have any trouble grinding it on this. So how much of a difference? So it's about, well, it's about 3 inches longer on each side. So I'll tell you, I think what I'm going to do is just round all these corners, do them a 45, and then just round them real nice, all four, and then round the edges, because, you know, I do reach around here to get my belts off the back here. And I think I'm going to leave it that length. I don't see any reason to cut it shorter. I'd rather have too much table than not enough. So this is the center right here. It's 24 1/8 long. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave it that long. All right, so now I need to come up underneath where my holes, let me, boy, that's a heavy chunk of metal. So I'm gonna sand this up real good, clean it up, and so this will lay nice and flat on here, and then mark my holes coming up this way. And I haven't decided completely what I'm going to do. I think I may do what I've done here, and that is just countersink some stainless screws. I can't think of any other way to do this. And I don't have the hardware store. This is Sunday. Our hardware store is closed here. Alrighty, so there we go. And I'll get as much as I can done today, but this is going to be a multi-day project. And that will be tomorrow. I'll get the bolts. I thought about welding this, you know, and that's still an option. Welding this to this. This is cast steel, so it's weldable. I'm gonna think on it. So I'm still no closer to making up my mind. I have another thought. I have three. One of them I've just decided I'm probably not gonna do, and that's to tack around here and a couple of tacks inside these holes, you know, like that. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I want to make this where if I didn't like this, if it didn't work out, I could take it off. So I have two courses of action. Drill down and use my countersunk screws, which will leave, you know, 1/2 inch. Here's what it'll leave. These type of holes, pretty big. And this will have to glide smoothly over those holes. Now, I could probably taper the bottom edges of these where you wouldn't feel them as you were going back and forth across the table. But another idea I have is to drill in just the four corners, here, 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 and here, and tap these holes and put 1/4 inch bolts up with some thread locker, knock them off level, sand it real good, and they would be still have holes, but they would be much smaller holes. And I'm kind of thinking that's probably the way I'm going to go with this now. So now there's no excuse for me not doing it. I was going to tell myself, well, tomorrow I'll have to go get them countersunk tapered screws, you know, machine screws. But if I thread these holes and go up this way, there's nothing to keep me from doing it. So I think I'm just going to do it. And you know, if it doesn't work out, then I can countersink the holes and go back with my original plan with nuts and bolts. So we'll see. I think I'll do that. All right, I got this cleaned up. Now I'm gonna go ahead. I've drilled these holes a little over 1/4, so I have just a little bit of play. And now I'm fixing to drill these holes and tap them, and we'll see. All right, I got my holes drilled. Now I'm going to tap these holes. By the way, this is my very old Craftsman tap and dive set, and I've had it for, God, 30-40 years. I mean, it's old. So I think I've got my money's worth out of it, and I think it's time to start looking for a new tap and die kit. And anyway, let me get you in the holder, and we're gonna tap these holes. All right, we did a dry fit. All the holes meet up and thread, so I'm fixing to debrad the corners and make it as brad friendly as possible, because if there's anything anywhere that can cut you, I'll get cut. That's next, and then I'm fixing to bolt this off. Okay. Got the corners rounded. Run a little bit of this blue Loctite down in there. I've acetoned all the holes, and I'm going to do the same thing with these bolts. I'm going to put some acetone, put some Loctite on them, and get them all started. Are you still recording? Yes, you are. Well, I don't know what you saw, because this thing just kicked on again. So anyway, I've got these in. I'm going to let this Loctite dry, and then I'm going to cut these off, smooth them out with my die grinder, and this project is done. All right, next we make knives. All right, remember when I said I was going to wait till tomorrow? Yeah, well, it's not tomorrow, but I couldn't wait. So here we go. That is going to make a big difference, I think. No snagging, no dragging. Yep, that's going to make a huge difference. All right, that project's done.